What happens if Brics recognizes the West Bank and Gaza as a Palestinian state and declares Israel as an occupier? Prime Minister Netanyahu indicates he would make concessions to the Palestinians to achieve a Saudi deal. Whatever concession Bibi Netanyahu makes, he's not going to live up to it. He has no intention whatsoever to ever give the Palestinian people a state. He's lied, he's hesitated, he's put up roadblocks, he's confused, he's done everything he can for decades to prevent the Palestinians from having the dignity of their own state.
That is his purpose for being.
Yes, that is his job. So what he's saying here is he's willing to make concessions to the Saudi Arabians to get a deal with them. He wants Saudi Arabia and Israel to sign basically a peace treaty, that they're going to work together, they're going to have trade, they're going to be friendly countries. But Saudi Arabia is saying, not until we solve the Palestinian issue. Now, in this video, he hints, well, that's what the Saudis say publicly, but that's not what they say privately.
And he ends up in this video speaking out of both sides of his mouth.
Which is easy for him to do.
That's right. And so on the one hand, he'll say, well, there might be a possibility of some things, but on the other hand, if it wasn't for Israel, the West Bank would be an Iranian state today.
Again, there's so much nervousness right out there. When you speak to investors and when you speak to the markets, give me a sense of what you would be able to do or to give to normalize a relationship with Saudi Arabia.
We're about to witness a pivot of history. Maybe. I can't guarantee that it'll happen. And by the way, my sense is we're going to realize that despite whether we have formal peace or not.
But do you have to give concessions? So we understand
Probably.
Saudi Arabia.
Some, but
so
I think,
what would you give? Would you limit, for example, Jewish settlements in the West Bank?
I'm not willing to give anything that will endanger Israel's security. That I will not do. But I think there's enough room to discuss possibilities. I don't think. I think the Palestinian thing is brought in all the time. It was always brought in. And it's sort of a checkbox, you know. You have to check it to say that you're doing it. Is that what is being said in corridors? Is that what is being said in discrete negotiations?
I don't know. You tell me. What's being said?
The answer is a lot less than you think.
Okay, so if you look at, for example, giving the Palestinians their own state, is that something that you would? Is that a red line?
It won't be their own state. It'll be an Iranian-controlled state that will. In an area that is about the width of the Washington Beltway. If you take Israel and the Palestinian areas in Judea, Samaria, the West Bank, together, it's a little more than the width of the Washington Beltway. You put a Palestinian state, which will be controlled by Iran, in half of that, or in the middle of that, you won't have a Palestinian state. You'll have an Iranian terror state. And
so that's a no.
Of course, it's a no, yes.
So that under no circumstances would you allow that?
No, what I said often is that the way that I would have a solution is two things about that. One, that the Palestinians should have all the powers to govern themselves and none of the powers to threaten Israel. This means that in whatever final settlement, peace settlement we have with the Palestinians, Israel remains I would say Israel has the overriding security power in the entire area, ours and theirs. Otherwise, we collapse. They collapse.
What that means is no Palestinians can own a gun.
Or vote.
Or vote. No Palestinians can vote. No, they can vote in their little Palestinian HOAs, but they can't vote in Israeli elections.
That's right. Because they'll have no representation.
Right.
They'll have protection by Israel.
But nothing that looks like an army, nothing that looks like... They'll have unarmed police forces. The police will not be able to be armed if Mr. Netanyahu gets his way. But the thing that caught my attention is he said, which the reporter said, are you going to make concessions to the Arabs, to the Saudis and the other Arabs? Are you going to make concessions regarding the Palestinians? And he, of course, he said, I'm not going to tell you my negotiating plans. But he said, in those private meetings with Arab leaders, there's not that much really said on behalf of the Palestinians. I'm paraphrasing what he said. He said, a lot less than you know. In other words, what Mr. Netanyahu is saying is, we in Israel believe that the Arab leaders will sell out the Palestinian people in order to get business deals with Israel. We just have not arrived at the right price for the sellout. We're still dickering over the price.
We're negotiating.
Yes. But they will sell out the Palestinian people when we arrive at the right price. That's what he's saying. He's not going to give the Palestinian people the dignity of their own state.
No.
But Brics may. Brics may recognize Palestine. What happens if Brics recognizes the West Bank and Gaza as a Palestinian state and declares Israel as an occupier? Because according to the United Nations, Israel is a military occupier. They were never, from 1948, Israel was never authorized to go beyond the borders that were established in 48. They took control of the West Bank. They took it from Jordan in 1967. They were illegally occupying the West Bank, and that's according to the United Nations. So what if the Brics nations say, we are upholding and adhering to the United Nations 1948 ruling? There is Israel and there is Palestine. And we now recognize Palestine as a state, and we will allow the Palestinian state to open embassies in our countries. And we will exchange ambassadors. What happens when Russia says, we're going to build a Russian embassy in the West Bank? Is Netanyahu going to stop them? That'll be an interesting experience. If China says we're putting an embassy in the West Bank, we have recognized Palestine as a state. Would they go that far? I don't know. I don't know. But when I saw Palestine on that list of Brics nations, I said, hey, wait a minute. They're recognizing them as a state.